Hi everybody, I'm Kevin Keller, CEO of CFP Board, and thank you for joining us today to learn more about our upcoming public awareness campaign. First of all, I'd like to recognize that these are certainly unusual and stressful times. Please know that all of us at CFP Board, our board of directors and the staff, appreciate the tremendous work that CFP professionals engage in to address your clients' stresses and needs, even as you deal with your own concerns and stresses. Please make it a priority to take care of yourself and your loved ones during these unusual times. We are grateful that you're taking time today to stay connected to CFP Board and to our work to uphold CFP certification. Before we get started, let me cover a few housekeeping notes. If you run into issues with the audio for this presentation, or if it seems like the slides are out of sync, please refresh your webinar console. There is a Q&A function on your screen that you can use to submit questions to us at any time during the program. At the end of the presentation, we will address your questions, and if we don't get to your specific question, we will follow up personally after the webinar. And we'll be posting a recording of today's webinar on our website at cfp.net. Just like most of you, I'm sure, we're all working from home. I'm in my home in Washington, D.C., just 6 blocks north of the White House. Our speakers today are broadcasting remotely from a variety of locations around the Washington, D.C. area. I'm joined today by Gail Reisman, CFP Board's Director of Advertising and Brand Engagement, and we're joined by members of our ad agency, White 64. Heather Knight is the Group Creative Director. She's in Alexandria, and Missy Lieber, Media Director, is joining from Bethesda, Maryland. This afternoon, we'll be sharing background on our public awareness campaign, including why we have it and what it's accomplished so far. We will review the brand positioning of the campaign and talk about how we are adapting our plans in the current environment. We will get a preview of the 2 new television spots and other creative materials we are introducing this spring. And we'll take a look at the media plan. Finally, we'll discuss how the paid media gets extended through public relations efforts and the support of you in the CFP professional community. Our public awareness campaign started in 2011. It supports CFP Board's mission to benefit the public by granting the certification and upholding it as the recognized standard of excellence. And it's that upholding it part that the campaign reinforces. The idea of a public awareness campaign was generated by you, our CFP professionals, and we continue to see high levels of support. Our 2019 survey of CFP professionals found that 91% of those who participated rated promoting and building the brand as very important. It was the top priority identified in the survey, and awareness remains one of CFP Board's 4 strategic priorities. We have seen significant success with our public awareness campaign during its first 9 years. Before the public awareness campaign began, what the branding people call unaided awareness of CFP certification was at 17%. That means that only 17% of your most relevant prospects could bring to mind the CFP certification without prompting. And total awareness was 75%. We track awareness with the global research and branding company Ipsos. And there's been quite a bit of fluctuation in these numbers year by year. And when we look at rolling 5-year averages, though, we see consistently a significant gain in awareness at both the unaided and total awareness levels. For the most recent 5-year period, 2015 through 2019, unaided awareness averaged 28% and total awareness averaged 84%. In 2020, our primary goal will be again to increase awareness of CFP certification. To share more details about the strategies to do that, I would now turn the program over to Gail Reisman, once again CFP Board's Director of Advertising and Brand Engagement.
Thank you, Kevin. In 2018, CFP Board underwent extensive qualitative and quantitative research among consumers and CFP professionals. This research identified new insights for our brand, which led to a new brand promise. Our advertising campaign strives to communicate to potential customers that partnering with a certified financial planner professional provides confidence today and a more secure tomorrow. We have a specific audience for the campaign. We call the target audience mass affluent initiators. These are individuals who are the primary decision makers in managing their personal finances. They're ages 35 to 64 with investable assets of $100,000 to $1 million at a minimum household income of $100,000. These mass affluent initiators describe themselves as individuals who value learning new things. They are optimistic, responsible, self-confident, and have a practical outlook on life. They are also more likely to trust expert advice versus taking a do-it-yourself approach. Now, I'd like to introduce Heather Knight of White 64, CFP Board's advertising agency partner.
Thank you, Gail. Hello, everyone. Beginning of our work with CFP Board, our creative has been focused on ensuring that when consumers think of financial planning with a CFP professional, that they think of the emotional benefits that partnership provides. So we talk about holistic thinking that incorporates all aspects of finance, or what we call a roadmap, which gives them direction and purpose. We talk about personalized, comprehensive, and flexible plans to provide reassurance. And we talk about plans that are created in their best interest, ones that inspire confidence both today. For our upcoming campaign, we planned 2 new creative executions. These are still based on our overarching brand position and on our existing campaign direction, but they're placing a greater emphasis on prominent branding throughout. Of course, we realize that in the COVID-19 environment, we need to look at creative through a slightly different lens. We need to have our ads be empathetic, relevant, helpful, and of course, appropriate to the current times. We believe that CFP Board is actually in a very strong position to engage through advertising at this time. Consumers need and are seeking out financial support and expertise. We can be there for them. That said, we are committed to staying nimble and creative during this dynamic time, working with CFP Board to make sure we are being sensitive while staying focused on our important brand building and campaign objectives. Today, we will play for you the 2 15-second television spots. Each spot will play 2 times. We refer to these spots as acronyms and Cal, Val, and Ellen. Acronyms is a new addition to the campaign, and it's the spot that we will begin the campaign with. Hal, Val, and Ellen have been part of our campaign since 2018, but this new edit puts more emphasis on how their CFP helps them.
Every financial plan needs a CFP professional. Confident financial plans, calming financial plans, complete financial plans. They're all possible with a CFP professional. Find yours at letsmakeaplan.org. Every financial plan needs a CFP professional. Confident financial plans, calming financial plans, complete financial plans. They're all possible with a CFP professional. Find yours at letsmakeaplan.org. Every financial plan needs a CFP professional. Confident financial plans, calming financial plans, complete financial plans. They're all possible with a CFP professional. Find yours at letsmakeaplan.org. Every financial plan needs a CFP professional. Confident financial plans, calming financial plans, complete financial plans. They're all possible with a CFP professional. Find yours at letsmakeaplan.org.
Our television advertising will be complemented by radio advertising on NPR and a variety of digital and social media advertising, as well as search engine marketing. On this page, you see a sample of some of the digital ads that we will use as a complement to the Acronyms spot. These are just a few static digital examples, but there is a full suite of video, social, and in-content advertising as well. All of these will link to the consumer-facing website, letsmakeaplan.org. On the following page, we have the digital ads that are in support of the Cal, Val, and Ellen spot. Similarly, these include a full complement of video, social, and in-content ads. Now I'd like to turn things over to Missy Lieber, Media Director.
Thank you so much, Heather, and good afternoon. Our media objectives continue to be to increase awareness of and preference for CFP professionals among the target audience and drive them to letsmakeaplan.org, the site that facilitates the search for a CFP professional and provides relevant information on planning to further build awareness. We will leverage media opportunities and mitigate gaps that are resulting from COVID-19 changes. The media landscape amid the COVID-19 world is extremely dynamic, with consumer behavior and media consumption habits different than before. But we believe we're well positioned to leverage the most recent trends. According to Nielsen Total Audience Report from February 2020, fourth quarter 2019 media consumption was already at all-time highs. The average adult spent close to 12 hours with media daily, up from the previous year. Now, during crisis events, media consumption ramps up, and research shows that television and online media consumption is now at record highs. Many advertisers are taking a pause from spending, postponing their campaigns. This gives companies with helpful and relevant messages to share an opportunity to make an impact in a less cluttered space. April through June was selected as the campaign time period to come after the heavy tax prep advertising and the Democratic primaries. It still remains a relevant time period given financial markets and consumer financial concerns. A delay due to COVID-19 would create a costly and highly competitive fall media investment. Given our objectives and the current trends we just discussed, we will use television as the primary campaign medium, layered with digital and social media advertising, search engine marketing, and a small investment in public radio. We will have a heavy presence in the financial, news, and lifestyle content programming and track and optimize the campaign in real time. These strategies will provide a strong reach and frequency nationally, generating close to 1.5 billion impressions throughout the campaign. Because most Americans are staying at home, we have a heavier than usual investment in television advertising, with 62% of our spending allocated to it. Digital channels make up another quarter of our spend, with the rest divided between social, search, and radio. Our radio buy is limited to NPR. Without live sports and people in their cars, TV and digital channels represent the more effective and efficient buy. The advertising will begin the week of April 13th, and television and radio ads will run for a 6-week period, ending just before Memorial Day. Digital, social, and search engine marketing will extend the campaign through the month of June as a bridge to the enforcement date of the new Code of Standards. We have a wide breadth of media partners, which are reflected here in this chart. As previously mentioned, we will focus our attention on news, finance, and lifestyle programming. We'll also have a significant network presence on news and late-night programming. Now, should live sports begin again, we will look at how we might be able to reinsert that into the overall media mix and content mix. A more detailed media plan will be posted on CFP Board's website, cfp.net. Now I'll pass it back to Gail to talk about how the paid media campaign is extended further.
Thanks, Missy. In addition to our paid media, we will seek to maximize and optimize public relations opportunities and use our CFP Board ambassadors to extend the brand message. Brand ambassadors are CFP professionals who represent CFP Board by giving a local voice to our initiatives and to our mission. Our owned assets, like our website and our social media pages, will also enhance our reach and our frequency. Our newly designed corporate website, cfp.net, will host a wide variety of tools for each of you to extend our message. These will be posted on Monday. There you can find links to our TV spots, digital banner ads, print ads from previous campaign flights, sample radio spots, and social media posts. We hope you'll find these resources helpful and will use them to support CFP professional branding and marketing initiatives. Now I'm going to turn it back to Kevin, who will start to take your questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Gail, and thank you, Missy and Heather as well. We have a number of questions that have come in, and so we'll jump right into those. Once again, if you have a question, please use the Q&A tab and type your question in. If we don't get to it directly, we will answer it after the event and answer you directly. The first question comes from Mark. Mark asks, how do you measure the success of the campaign? What are the metrics? Mark, I'll jump in here first, because when we launched the campaign and I was on the road with members of our board of directors, this was one of the key questions that frequently came up. And again, it is a public awareness campaign, and we measure the success of the campaign by the brand awareness of CFP certification. And as I said earlier, as we said, we use the global research and branding firm Ipsos, and they conduct a survey of the target market each year to determine both the unaided and aided awareness or total awareness of CFP certification. And so that number has averaged in the neighborhood of 28 or 29% of unaided awareness and upwards of 84, 85% in total awareness. This next question comes from Pam, and it's for you, Missy. The question, have you changed the media plan because of the COVID-19 virus?
As a matter of fact, yes, we have. As stay-at-home decrees were given out, there was an immediate shift that we saw in media consumption habits. So less commuting meant a decrease in radio listenership, and you can see a huge significant bump in TV viewing, especially right now around news content. There's also an increase in time spent online and time spent on social media. So we got together, the media team got together, we immediately pivoted to adjust the buy to reflect these new habits and to now better align the CFP messaging within relevant content.
Great. Thank you, Missy. Next question comes from Trenton. Trenton asks, am I able to use the new banner images to post on my social media site? Why don't we Gail, why don't you answer that one, please? Can we use the resources and the pieces of the campaign individually?
Yes, absolutely. So on Monday, if you go to cfp.net/PAC or PAC, you'll find all of the assets that we'll be using in the national campaign that can be used by you individually. There will be instructions on how you can get the banner ads onto your individual website. So you can definitely do that, and we'd very much appreciate you extending the campaign messaging through those assets.
Great. Thank you very much, Gail. And of course, we would always mention, be sure to check with compliance, with your compliance folks before you do that. Frank asks, and this is a frequent question that we get, Frank says, my son thinks CFP is the college football playoff, and what can we do about that? Frank, I wish there was more that we could do about that. We have looked at that internally, both with our general counsel and outside intellectual property counsel. And the answer is because there's no potential confusion between football and financial planning, that there's not anything that we can do for that. So I appreciate that question. Heather's up next. She writes, this next question is for Heather. Matt writes, you mentioned changing the commercials to reinforce the brand. Heather, how do these questions do that? And if you could speak loudly, when you were presenting, it seemed to cut out. So if you can speak loudly and close to the phone.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. I hope this is better. So first and foremost, the repetition of the letters CFP that we use throughout this campaign in relation to both talking about the CFP professional as well as the acronyms for the different financial plans and using them both visually and in the audio are a big part of how we are trying to boost the brand. I think that also kind of speaks a little bit to what you were talking about with the college football confusion there. By always connecting it back to financial planning, we're trying to make that as strong as possible. And in addition, I would say this creative really focuses entirely on the interaction between the CFP professional and the client. So we're really trying to connect that relationship to plans that are making the client feel confident and feel reassured and prepared, which are all parts of what we want the CFP brand to represent.
Great. Thank you very much. Former CFP board chair of the board, Rich Rojak, asks, was specific thought given to the reasons behind the plateauing of unaided awareness in the design of the new program? Heather, I think that I'll let you start.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely drove us relooking at what modifications we could make. Still working within the framework of the current campaign, and that definitely drove our decision to really bring the CFP acronym to the forefront in the ways that I just described.
Great, thank you.
And I would add, and Kelly,
go ahead.
If it's okay, I would love to add to that it was not the only concept that we considered in trying to continue to increase the awareness. We did test several concepts with the consumers, and we specifically looked at the impact that the different spots had on providing a lift to the unaided awareness measures.
Here's a question that is of action that CFP board took that raised some controversy. Kenneth asks, when is the compensation method going to be added back into the search functionality? There were a lot of vocal folks who were disappointed that CFP board removed compensation from the search results of the Let's Make a Plan website. There were also people who were much less public who applauded it. The board of directors considered that over 2 separate board meetings, as I think we communicated on multiple occasions. And in the end, as we rolled out our new code and standards with a focus on fiduciary, the board made the decision to remove the fee option. So I don't see that, Kenneth, coming back anytime soon. My friend Alan asks, who frequently comments about CFP Board's public awareness campaign. Alan asks, about the balance of the spend on CFP Board's enforcement program and advertising. And so, Alan, I'll take that question, if you will. I appreciate the question and thank you for that. The board has identified 4 strategic priorities, and one of those is awareness. The other is accountability, and that's holding CFP professionals accountable to our standards. And so they are both among our 4 strategic priorities as we go forward, and we will be continuing to focus on enforcement just as we do on awareness. Gail, this next question is for you. Tricia asks, what happened to the spots and the videos that we ran last year?
Sure, Kevin. While the 2019 campaign was very successful, and these spots are still within the campaign, they're a refresh of the creative, we always look for ways to improve CFP Board's unaided brand awareness numbers. So as we mentioned, we worked with our creative agency, and then we did work with a research partner to identify ways in which we could tweak the campaign to optimize those awareness measures.
Great, Gail. Thank you. Eric asked, will a link of the recording be distributed? Gail, would you speak to that, where folks will be able to find that?
Yes, so this recording will go up onto cfp.net within the next week's time, and you'll be able to see this, in full completion.
Great, thank you. Matthew asks, do you track how many people search for a CFP professional and click on the contact option? Are we able to see that information? So, Gail, do you have the number of the searches that were conducted in 2019?
Yes, so we had about 500,000, just over 500,000 searches for CFP professionals. We are able to measure the number of searches, but we unfortunately are not able to track the actual number of clicks to the contact button.
Great, thank you. Jonathan has a comment. Thank you for doing the ad campaign. He believes that it helps his business. We're happy that it helps your business, but the real goal overall is awareness and helping the public understand the value of competent and ethical financial planning. This next question is for Missy. Steve writes in, why are we running 15-second spots instead of 30s?
Hi, Steve. Thanks for your question. Actually, running 15-second spots gives CFP the ability to essentially double the spot load, thus increasing our frequency of message and, in turn, increasing awareness. It's great. It's going to give us a lot of extra frequency this year.
Missy, Missy is our media director, but in effect, she's the person who's actually working with the properties and buying ad time. There's been a trend, has there not, Missy, over time to shorter commercials?
Absolutely. I mean, first it was, TV was always 30s. And as video and the way we consume television, or if you want to say video across different devices, there has been a shift to 15 seconds. TV is still a combination now. You see a greater amount of 15s. But especially on video, we find that we get better click-throughs, better engagement when videos are shorter. And so that's carrying through not just on the digital side of things, but also on the TV side. I mean, media is expensive. For the cost of a 30, we get, 2 15s, and that helps us increase our frequency tremendously.
Thank you, Missy. Jack asked, is the presentation going to be recorded? And yes, Jack, it is. Let's see. Next question for Heather. Steve asks, the commercial seems to go by so quickly. I think that's the same, a variation of the same point. Can it do the job it needs in just 15 seconds?
Sure. I mean, I think, as Missy said, the 15-second commercial has obviously become much more prevalent and also has been shown to be a very effective format in recent years. It does give us that frequency, which we wouldn't get from a longer spot, which can be very helpful specifically in promoting recall. A lot of times it's not just how much of a message you hear, it's how many times you hear it. And as Gail pointed out earlier, testing was done on these concepts prior to us actually developing them to ensure that they would be effective in delivering our key message and in lifting awareness.
Great. Next question here. Mary Ann asks, can we embed the video commercials in our website? Mary Ann, would you answer that, Gail?
Yes. So you can actually take the video file and embed it, but you can link your site to the video file, which is posted on our YouTube page and also posted on that toolkit that I mentioned, again, at cfp.net/PAC.
Nori asks, will the slides be available after the fact? And Gail, would you let folks know how we'll make this presentation and the slides available?
Yes, so it will be made available at cfp.net, and I can certainly make sure that I think a follow-up email goes out after the webinar, and perhaps we can include a link to the presentation at that time.
Great. Next question, Missy, Aaron writes, how does this buy differ from last year's?
I think one of the most important things is the timing. We took a look at research and how much was being spent against tax preparation during the flight dates last year. And the flight dates of the campaign for this year were shifted in order to mitigate being taken over and getting lost in that tax clutter advertising. That's one thing. You'll also notice that there are fewer TV and radio weeks. So by cutting the number of weeks, it maximizes the number of spots and the concentration of the media weight into a more condensed time frame. So by doing that, it minimizes the time between how often we see the spots, and this is used to generate a greater increase in overall awareness and recall.
Great. Stephanie asks, at what point will our annual fees going to be reduced for increasing, she says, for increasing unawareness of the brand seems to benefit the organization more than CFP professionals? I'll take that question, Stephanie. Thank you for the question. The campaign is all about increasing the awareness of the CFP brand. So Stephanie says that that there are no referrals for website click-throughs, and that's the campaign in all of its manifestations, online, in print, over the air, TV, radio, all refer to let's make a plan, where a prospective client of a CFP professional can search for a CFP professional. So Stephanie, thank you for that question. Next, I'm going to go, Gail, another question for you. Jen asks, why don't we hold off on running the campaign until after the pandemic?
Sure, that's a great question. We certainly have had a lot of conversations internally and with the agency about that, and have kept our eye on all of the research that has been coming out about COVID-19 and the impact on the media landscape. Research does tell us that consumers don't expect or want brands to stop advertising. They're definitely looking for brands to show how they could be helpful in the new everyday lives that people are experiencing, and that they offer a positive perspective. So we really believe that these spots do just that and answer the needs of consumers that are facing financial uncertainty today. We also know by looking at Google search behavior and data that Americans are definitely seeking financial advice from experts.
Great. We'll take a couple of more questions here, and then we will wrap up. Ray asks, how is negative awareness measured and its impact considered? And so I'll open that up. Heather or Gail, Missy, do one of you want to take that? Negative awareness. We do not measure it, but perhaps you could speak to the brand positioning of CFP professionals providing confidence in the services they deliver.
Sure. This is Gail. I could take that. So we certainly, make sure that all of the paid advertising is positioned in that brand promise, providing confidence today and security tomorrow for customers of CFP professionals. And as I mentioned, we also enhance that and integrate it with earned media opportunities, public relations. And we do track all of our hits in public relations, and we do keep an eye on the sentiment of those articles that are referring to and talking about CFP certifications. And so, we are able to look at all the impressions that we're making on a paid basis and the impressions that we're making on a public relations basis, and keep our eye on keep on the pulse of the sentiments, and also keeping an eye on social media, all of our social media channels, and periodically doing a review of the social media landscape to make sure that we know what people are talking about.
Thank you, Gail. Missy, a question from you. Michael writes, what about podcasts? Do we advertise in podcasts? I think we've had several questions on podcasts.
Sorry about that. The answer is yes. The audio ads will appear across a variety of podcasts that are specifically targeting the MAI audience. And also, we will be on a variety of NPR podcasts as well. So you'll see us, hear us across these podcasts, keep an eye. And that's one of the changes we made based on the information that we were getting about COVID-19. There is a sharp increase in podcast usage. So that will begin next week as well.
Great. Let's do one final question. We had a question from Paul, and he writes, and it's a question I've heard numerous times, and that is, you describe the target for the campaign as the mass affluent initiator. And Paul asks, Paul says, my client, that's not my target market. He targets a more upscale client. And so that's a frequent question. It's been a question since we launched the campaign. And I'll share with you kind of what the thinking is, but Missy, I'll come to you from an ad buying perspective of why we target that number. The question, or the premise of the question, the premise of the mass affluent initiator is based on research, both research of our CFP professionals and research of the public. On the CFP professional side, the majority of our CFP professionals indicate, at least for those who have a assets under management minimum, that the majority of their clients or new client target was between that $100,000 and $1 million number. On the public side, when we asked the public how much money did they think they would need before they might seek out the services of a CFP professional, again, it fell in that target range of between $100,000 and $1 million. So that helped us shape what most people and what marketers think of and what you all may think of as the mass affluent demographic. Beyond that, though, there are considerations and a mindset for people who are likely to consider engaging a CFP professional. And it's those additional mindset factors that Gail spoke about earlier that help us zero in on the target audience. And again, it's a person who's optimistic, who thinks that he or she should take responsibility, a person who trusts experts. And so again, we've taken the demographics, married those with the psychographics, and then when Missy Lieber, our agency media buyer, director of media for the agency White 64, goes into the marketplace, because we have a relatively small budget compared to other advertisers, she needs to be as efficient as possible, and so we're zeroing in on that target audience. So that's the reason why we've done that. Missy, what else would you add to that explanation when it comes to buying? Because certainly the media properties that we engage and that we purchase have audiences with net worth well above $1 million.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing as a media buyer is to understand the audience well beyond just an age demographic. We subscribe at the agency to a variety of research, syndicated research, that goes out and looks at these different target audiences and then lines that up against media consumption habits, how they use media, what they're watching, what they're reading. The great thing about the past couple of years with technology is that we're able to do that and target down to that, household income, those assets, and overlay the psychographics that Kevin and Gail spoke about, so that we're really finding that needle in a haystack. And the research is there to support our decisions. And then we go in and negotiate and make those things. We're not, trying to reach as many people as possible out there. We're trying to reach as many people as possible within a very specific target audience. And that's what we're doing.
Great, Missy. Thank you. I want to thank Missy Lieber, Heather, and Gail Reisman from CFP Board staff once again, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. And thank you for what you do in helping the public have more confidence today and more surety in the future. If you have follow-up questions, I encourage you to contact us. This concludes our webinar today. A recording of this presentation will be posted to CFP Board's website within the next week. And with that, I wish you all a good day and be well.